able to see as we're going. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar hosted by STCR and SES, where we will be diving into electronic shelf labels. Today's session is also being recorded for future viewing as well. My name is Ben Decker, Product Sales Engineer for STCR, and I'm joined by Chris Miller from SES Imagotag. Please feel free to use the QA function to ask any questions you may have about ESLs or how STCR can help implement the solution into your grocery store. We will be responding to all questions after Chris has finished his portion of the presentation prepared for you today. But first, who is STCR? Many of you on the call may not currently use STCR for your retail technology needs. So Chris, if you wouldn't mind going to the first slide.
There you go.
Awesome. So STCR, we've been supporting independent grocers of all sizes and verticals for over 50 years and provide leading solutions on point of sale, self-checkout, electronic shelf labels, of course, and more. Our 24/7, 365 help desk supports, they take tickets from grocers all over the country, and we support over 3,000 stores across North America and Puerto Rico. Next slide. Our customers trust STCR for more than just IT support, but as advisors as well, helping them navigate the constantly changing retail technology space. This is why we hold free webinars talking about latest technology trends, like for self-checkouts, hold open training sessions for our lock SMS POS system regularly, and more. And that's what brought STCR and SES's Fusion tags together, a sophisticated solution to help our customers and grocers all across the globe become more efficient in their pricing operations. Next slide. And one of these customers is Lincoln Market in New York State. Go to the next slide, Chris.
Yep.
So Lincoln Market came to STCR with a lot of the same challenges and pain points that you might be facing today, especially SAP turnover and constant pricing changes since the pandemic. Lincoln Market felt that ESLs, electronic shelf labels, could help relieve some of that pressure that these challenges were adding to their day-to-day operations and offer a better shopping experience to their customers at the same time. Next slide. Our team met with the customer to review their needs, and within a few short days had a plan in place for an ESL pilot. Immediately, the store started to see improvements in their pilot aisle as the labels eliminated manual pricing updates and ensured pricing accuracy 24/7, bringing in automatic pricing changes from their wholesaler. Next slide. Within a month of that pilot, after a smooth implementation and positive feedback from both employees and customers, Lincoln elected to move forward with even more tags in the store and expand into other departments within their stores as well. And to tell you more about the labels themselves, I want to pass it over to Chris from SES. Chris, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Ben. Appreciate that. Well, again, thank you for taking your time out of your schedules today and listening to Ben and I give you an overview of electronic shelf labels. So many of you have probably done some research into some labels over the years, but I'm anxious today to kind of give you a little background on who SES is, how we play in this space, and the technology that we're selling through partners like STCR. So just to kind of get started, I kind of thought this was an interesting article last year. There's articles all over the internet based around everything that the retailers like you guys are facing today. And really, as this article kind of depicts, is the time right for electronic shelf labels now, right? And it was a pretty lengthy article, but a couple snippets from it. This author basically said that, shelf labels in North America, whether they're new here, they've been around for over 30 years. Okay, this started in Europe, again, 30 years ago, where retailers in those regions basically faced some of the same challenges that we have today in North America, but took an approach of using electronic label versus a paper shelf tag. And they've been kind of building their infrastructure around that for years and years. Nothing has changed in these 30 years. There's no other tedious task in the retail, especially grocery market, as really going out and changing the continual price changes on the shelf. It's a necessary evil. It has to be done, and it has to be done correctly and on time. And that's where we're going to lead the conversation today. You fast forward to today's retail climate post-pandemic, this article basically said there's no disputing the effectiveness and efficiency of using electronic shelf labels. So we'll kind of cover off why. So for those of you that may or may not know who SES is, I wanted to kind of just kick off here a little background on who we are. We're not new to this space. We are a global retail tech company, a manufacturer of these digital shelf tags, and we've been doing this since 1992. We've been doing shelf labels for 30 years across the globe. Yes, that's probably new to North America, but as I mentioned, in countries around Europe, they've been using this technology to support their retail operations and pricing requirements, again, in some cases over 25 years. So we've been considered certainly one of the leaders in the space. We've got some of the most Internet of Things devices that are connected to the cloud that we'll talk about here in a few minutes. And we've been considered the pioneer of electronic shelf labels. Our company was actually developed out of a retailer in Europe that, again, back in the early 90s said, hey, we've got to come up with a better way than walking to the shelf and doing price changes. Now, boy, our company has certainly grown over the years, as you can see. Last year, 2022, hitting over 650 million in sales. That's nearly doubling our revenue in 2021. So the onslaught, as the article I just showed you, in North America is tremendous. The opportunities are tremendous here, and SES wants to be a major player in that space. Again, we do have a global footprint. We operate in over 60 countries. These numbers, they change literally weekly and monthly. Probably over 400, 500 retailers right now in North America, 35,000 stores. Boy, when you start looking at the numbers of shelf labels, well over 300 million deployed to date, and we've done over 10 billion price changes through our cloud. So it's a massive view when you start looking at the sheer numbers that SES has been able to support customers like yourself on. So a little background on us. Now, the outlook in North America is tremendous, okay? Again, the adoption rate in Europe being in that 85 to 90% range, we're probably less than 3% in North America, okay? So when you look at the total addressable market, the industry experts say that's about a $10 billion market, or 10 billion quantity label market just in North America alone. And if you look at the top 100 retailers, that constitute only about 30% of the total addressable market. It's really the folks like all of us on the phone today that work in the independent market space. That's 70% or 7 billion labels of opportunity just in North America. And SES is really setting foot in North America and building out our presence here from that perspective. Again, we are these labels, they cover more than just grocery retail. You can see some of the verticals that our company has been successful in across the globe. Furniture stores, home improvement stores, right? Your Ace, your True Values here in North America. Consumer electronics stores, and various retail stores. Kohl's Foods across North America, they've had SES tags in them for probably 10 years now. So it isn't just grocery, it isn't just convenience store, but obviously that's the sweet spot in where companies like SES and STCR are going after that market today. You kind of boil down looking at really grocery and C-store retail, you can see an impressive list of, certainly global partners, but boy, let's start bringing it home to North America. We've been transacting in Canada. We rolled out all the Walmart stores in Canada. You can see Co-op and some other big names there as well. And then really the adoption rate is just moving exponentially fast in the US. Certainly we've got some of the large guys in there, Kroger, Walmart, Meijer, Hy-Vee, almost 300 stores of Hy-Vee, but we actually have as small as a 2-lane grocery store, 1-store operator. So anywhere from, a few hundred tags up to 150,000 tags in a Walmart store. Very flexible, very scalable, but addresses the same requirements that we all have today. So we SES have been working with Walmart over really the last 10 years. A lot of that work outside the continental US. and we probably rolled out a couple thousand of their stores outside of North America. And we had a pretty big success story that came out the end of last month after an extensive review of all the e-tag companies that are out there and the technologies. Walmart has verbally selected, and we are in contract with them to support their North America stores. And the first 500 locations of about 60 million tags is underway. So, you know, when Walmart vets out a technology, they look at every angle, and we're glad that we came out on top. What we'll cover here in a couple of slides, if you look at that quote in the lower part of this slide, you know, the changing of price labels is very time consuming when it's done manually. What the vice president of Walmart says there is, it isn't, labor is so precious. They don't want to let go of their label just because they put a shelf tag in. They want to redeploy that labor and address other customer facing functions, right? So that's really where these labels really start creating a very unique ROI for customers such as us on the phone today. So SES, yes, we've been invested into shelf labels for 30 years, but that isn't all that we're doing. That's, if you really consider the digital shelf tag, that's really kind of what we call the foundation or phase one of the approach of our solution set. So this slide kind of shows the SES portfolio. And what I have circled in the red box there, those are the items that focus strictly on the shelf tags, the digital shelf tags. We've got our cloud solution, Fusion Manager, and then the addressable tags that we put on the shelf facings. Where we can go from there, and we won't be covering these other solutions today, but maybe in some future webinars that STCR is going to be putting on, we may talk about some of our add-on solutions once you have the tags in the store to cover such things as real-time out-of-stock monitoring using AI solution set and how that interfaces with our shelf tags. Really a unique situation that we bring to the table that our competitors do not. The engaged retail media portion, I'll have a slide on it here coming up, but that's really getting into the marketing aspect, your end caps, your manager specials, all that can still be tied into an electronic shelf table system. So we're anxious to kind of get into that as well. And then analytics, right? The more you digitize your store, the more data that's flowing. We are acquiring other companies that specialize in like taking into account market factors, weather to help with pricing intelligence, okay? We don't have time to cover those today, so we're gonna get into the meat and potatoes of just the shelf labels today. So challenges facing retailers, you guys could tell Ben and I, we should be listening to you with everything that's going on out here, but here's what we've been kind of working on from an SES perspective over the last couple of years here in North America. Certainly post-pandemic, the labor, right? The availability of quality labor and then the cost of that quality labor changes and increases every month, every year. That's just a challenge for all of us, and how can shelf tags address that, we'll cover here in a couple of slides. Other things, pricing consistency, right? Ensuring your shelf audits, adhering to your planograms, right? Is the same price at the shelf the same that's going to ring up in the POS, right? That's a challenge if it doesn't. Again, just the overall labor shortage and the need for that labor. Maybe green initiatives, okay? Those are becoming more and more important in the US and North America market, whereby in Europe, some of our counterparts over there, that's a key piece in the decision-making process, right? Some of them went to tags 15 years ago just to not print tags, right? Save on the energy to manage trees and paper usage. Also pricing agility. Post-pandemic, the sheer amount of price changes that are happening, your perishables, your produce, meat, things are just changing a lot more rapidly post-pandemic than ever before. And that just puts a strain on the whole retail operation in the way of paper tag pricing. And then the ultimate challenge is, out of stock on the shelf. So we won't get into some of that today, but in a future webinar, we'll touch on some of those add-ons that we have. So if you look at, what are the benefits to the retailer community? I kind of broke that down to benefits by the store and then benefits to the employee, and then benefits to your ultimate end user, the ultimate consumer. So just a couple things to note out that electronic shelf labels can kind of bring to the table. One of the issues, the pricing accuracy. So as STCR kind of mentioned with their Lincoln Market, right, that we can provide full audit compliance because the integration that STCR does with the POS system, as you create that ad batch and it goes from your back office to the point of sale, that's the same data set that we use for the electronic price tag, right? It goes up into the cloud, and within a few seconds, it could be updating in one store if you're a multi-store operator in multiple stores. So the pricing accuracy, a tremendous benefit to the store. Labor savings, the #1 ROI item within implementing digital shelf tags, right? Again, with the rising cost of labor, the challenge of keeping and acquiring that labor is a challenge, right? So the installation of shelf tags, you can redeploy the effort that used to be hanging tags to doing other things that are more strategic to the store. Okay. Such other benefits as perishability management. In that article that I started my conversation with today, one of the things that they talk about in there where shelf tags can play a major benefit is with your produce, right? Items that have approaching their sell-by dates. We can set up operations through STCR, through their POS systems, to change the price on maybe fresh bread later in the afternoon. Try to flush that out before items and product hit their sell-by dates. Okay, that's a very much of a challenge in a high intensive labor driven environment where you got to run a paper tag out. Here you can just do it from the pricing coordinator's perspective sitting at their PC. So huge capabilities around perishability management. And then not to ever forget, the shelf edge influence, right? You guys own brick and mortar. You have customers come in every day and decisions are made at that shelf every day. That's why the CPGs spend all the money on marketing to try to convince that final consumer on what product to buy. Again, we won't cover off on that today. That's, again, where our video rails kind of come into play. And once you have the shelf tags in, these video rails can kind of certainly provide additional ways to market and create activity on items that you, the retailer, want to move that are on special deal, just special items that way. You can kind of see a couple of implementations on this screen here. This is Dom's in Chicago. And if you look at that item on the right, that's an end cap that's running Wheat Thins marketing that they worked with their vendor, and they're increasing their traffic and purchasing capability off of that end cap. Again, building off the SES shelf tag solution that's in the store, you can see there in the middle, we can actually post electronic pricing down to those video rails. So pretty slick solution, and we will cover all of that a little bit more detail on a future call with STCR. Again, just keep focusing on electronic shelf labels. A couple of additional benefits, again, for you, the store, dynamic pricing. So once you have ESLs implemented at the shelf, then the ability to create impromptu sales, right? Impromptu promotions. You're heavy on some product that didn't sell the week before, right? You can make those quick, fast decisions and not worry about updating to the point of sale on the shelf, waiting a couple of days to get all your paper tags printed. You can make decisions, and within, again, a minute, you can have all your items updated with that new pricing. So dynamic pricing gives you a lot of flexibility that you just don't have today. Kind of ties into the next bullet there, pandemic pricing. Again, you're getting a lot more price changes, a lot more produce changes. And at some point as a retailer, you're probably making the conscious decision, well, it's a 3% increase. That's probably not even worth my time to print the label and do what I need to do. I'll lose money on that. Well, ESLs kind of turn the tables on that kind of a scenario, right? Your item maintenance clerk can make that change, update the price that comes in, and as you automate the front end, it automates the shelf tag price. I kind of touched on earlier some out of stock solution monitoring. what's really unique, we have a bolt-on product called Captana. Again, that'll be for a future webinar. But once you have the tags in, our tags are basically connected. You tie them to the product. So once that product facing goes away, we know that, and then we use our AI to send those alerts up to the store and do what we need to do from an internal perspective on replenishment. So again, that's for a future conversation, but again, this is kind of laying the foundation on where digital shelf tags can kind of take us, okay? So to continue some of the benefits to the store that's implementing these, now some benefits to the employees, okay? Certainly the number one, at least saving 80% of the time for the resources that are in your store today that hang tags. And I've heard as many as one person full-time, two people full-time, one full-time, one part-time. There's a vast, unique difference on how retailers operate that. But the bottom line is that's a bulk of where the ROI is going to come back in, right? No more requirements to hanging freezer tags or finding those freezer tags tucked away behind an item somewhere and they never got up to your shelf, okay? So the employee does not have to do that tedious task anymore. This becomes an automated, streamlined process. Now you can redeploy some of those same resources to do, as that vice president from Walmart said, hey, we need our valuable resources. We just don't want them to hang tags. We want them to go out and assist the customers, make sure the store's clean, or whatever the other initiatives are that you guys have as owners. So that's a huge part of the ROI. And then really eliminating those difficult situations on pricing and accuracy, where the price being charged at the point of sale does not match with the tag that never got put up in the dairy department, right? So that all goes away because the same file that goes to the POS goes to the electronic shelf tags. So a lot of benefits for the employees. And then, the holy grail, all of us and our customers, right, and us as consumers. So what are the benefits shelf tags bring to the consumer? One, again, we kind of talked about it, pricing accuracy. As I know when I come in and shop your stores, if the shelf price always matches the front end, that just builds, confidence that I have in the store, and electronic shelf labels will certainly help you do that. Probably one of the biggest benefits to the consumer and really demands of the consumer, similar reasons I heard Ben kind of talk about self-checkout up front in this call. All right, as many of you I'm sure have implemented self-checkout. It's to serve the consumer. That's what they want when they come in and just pick up a few items. Similar with shelf tags, right? These are a digital way for you, the retailer, to communicate with your ultimate end user. So ESLs provide the ability, you can put unlimited content down on these tags and change it as frequently as needed, right? The use of a QR code. Maybe you're promoting a new local vendor for honey and you want to highlight that vendor, put some information on the tag. I could come in, scan it with my mobile phone and get the information or recipes or links out to dietary information, right? Today's consumers are just that much more demanding, and ESLs and the automated process provide you, the retailer, a way to deliver that content to the consumer. So very unique part of the ROI that comes to play. And then last but not least, again, just that overall store impression, right? When installed properly, just as Ben talked about Lincoln Market, you get a unified look in the store. It's like an uplift. And again, you've got that 100% pricing accuracy to the front end. So Ben, stop me if there's any questions, or I know we were going to kind of do Q&A at the end here, but just feel free to chime in.
Yeah, of course, Chris. So there was one question that came through. They were
Yeah,
curious about how does this work when the wholesaler they work with today is currently shipping them tags that they would hang up on their store? How could they work with ESLs in with their wholesaler?
Yeah, for sure. So good question. And, that's certainly functions that we SES have been doing with various partners in North America. So if that price file is coming in from the wholesaler, we have a couple of options. One you're probably receiving that in a SIL format, or whatever that format is, and then probably applying that in a batch to, let's say, a backend solution, maybe a lock SMS or a BR data, right, Ben? Something along those lines. What we do is STCR and us, we would look at when that file hits your back office, we would take that data, map that to the fields for the shelf tags, and implement that. We do that weekly and monthly. Most of the file formats that we run into today are very, they're very basic, and we've been able to use all different POSs, all different back offices, and different file formats. So really, to answer that question, Ben, we'd want to sit down with that person. Let's look at the data formats, when they come in, how do they get applied to the front end, and then determine, do we want to receive the file directly from the wholesaler and process it at the same time, or maybe utilize STCR to, once you have that add batch or new item batch, we just take it as we typically do today. So many ways, I guess, to skin that cat, if you will.
Great. Okay. Yeah. And we'll reach out to you to,
Sure.
Get more in detail on that question. Thank you for your question. And Chris, you can go on with your presentation.
Okay. Great question, though, by the way. So again, focusing today's presentation around grocery retail, I thought I'd just kind of put this slide up to show you kind of some sample tags. These are kind of the go-to tags that we find in North American grocery. And you can see the different sizes there. So as small as a 1.6 tag, that I've got some pictures and images of showing these implemented in stores, but that's going to be where you have a little bit more limited space, health and beauty, potentially spice racks, things of a smaller size. And then the 2.6 is really the lion's share in grocery. That's the number one, very similar to the size tag that you guys are printing today. That option comes in, we have standard casings and freezer related casings. So we've got product that you can put in your freezers, put in your dairy, put in your misters, right? We've got all that product kind of covered there. So a couple different sizes, the 1.6, 2.6, and 2.2 are kind of center store. And then you start looking outside the perimeters and end caps. 4.2 is typically where you see in meat departments, fish departments, produce departments. And then anywhere in the store, if you've got, sale aisles or areas, end caps, a lot of times customers like to have a little more real estate on their tag, such as a 7.4 or 9.7 inch tag, just to display that information. And I've got a couple slides that will show you that in live implementations. But a couple of features that cover all of the product sizes that we have. First of all, you probably notice I've got the LEDs flashing on this slide. So again, through the work of the implementation support that STCR does for us, there's cases where we can utilize that LED flashing technology. And one example could be maybe Instacart, where you're doing e-commerce support in your stores, and you've got a picker, whether it be an employee picker or an Instacart employee that comes in. They can use these LEDs based off of a pick list. And let's say they're running down to the dressing aisle and they're looking for ranch, and you could actually have the tag associated ranch flash to help expedite that process of picking for, let's say, an online order. Okay. Could also be on the flip side, could be maybe after closing hours, you've got some new stockers on your staff, and maybe they need help in location of the bins or the department area. Again, they can have their list of items. They go down the aisle, and we could have the tags flash to assist them with their put away. Okay, so a lot of uniqueness that you can do with the LED flashing technology. And a couple other things, if you've looked at tags before, kind of pre-pandemic, one of the knocks has always been kind of battery life. And again, we've been doing this 30 years, and as we are opening our practice here and going after this North American business, right now we're at a 7 to 9 year battery life. We're being very conservative with that. So we're touting this 7-year battery life. And what's unique about our tags today versus some tags of old, typically once those batteries ran out in an old tag, you actually had to throw the device away. Okay, that's not the case anymore. Our technology, SES, we're a low frequency solution compared to some of our competitors, and we can actually replace the battery at the shelf. It's a CR type watch battery that you can buy, off the shelf or work through STCR to get replacements. What's been unique is in Europe, where we have customers in that 15 to 20 year mark. We actually just received some kudos from their version of UL Laboratories. We're actually hitting 13-year battery life. So we're pretty happy and excited that, we think we're on the right technology there. But right out of the box, we tout a 7-year battery life. Another question that comes up is security of the tag, right? So I've got a feature there in the lower right. We call it Easy Lock, and it's actually a pretty cool patented technology where you can see we have a little metal pin that pops up, and as you lock that into the shelf fixture, it does two things. One, it locks the tag to the shelf so that a customer can't come in and remove the tag and take it, outside. Or how many times you going down your aisles and seeing all the paper tags kind of scrunched together under one item, right? This Easy Lock feature prevents that from happening as well. So it maintains that compliance for your planogram. And again, as you look at some of our add-on solutions where we actually get into that planogram compliance and use AI, that's important to keep that tag affixed to 1, 2, 3, 4, however many facings you have, but tied to that product that it's registered to. So a lot going on with that slide, but if we look at just some implementations, right, again, these are mainly grocery implementations. You can see in that middle picture there, that's a shelf that actually has all 3 sizes kind of blended in. If you kind of scan down there, there's quite a few of the small 1.6 for those single facings. And then there's actually some 2.2 tags that are kind of blended in there, and then some standard 2.6 tags. So just to give you an idea of how they integrate, how they look on a shelf, and really the 2.2 and the 2.6 you can hardly tell apart. But sometimes you need just that different spacing to have the look that we're looking for. And then on the far right, you've got peg hooks, and we can, you can put 2.2, 2.6, or 1.6 tags on peg hooks. It just depends on kind of the area and what it looks like in number of product. So I mentioned we have both standard casings and freezer casings. So you can kind of see these pictures. This depicts our freezer-based model, higher IP rating. They can withstand the lower temperatures. So that middle kind of shows you that sale item of $13.99. And you can see those very clearly through even the closed glass door on the image on the right. But standard tags, freezer-related tags. And then 4.2 kind of in your area perimeter sections. This is in a produce section. And there's a lot of ways, a lot of different what we call fixtures that STCR and SES can help you with. We've got clamps and magnets and suction cups and pedestals and little metal holders. Just it's endless on the number of ways that we can affix a tag to an area. And as I mentioned in the 4.2, the produce tag, we actually make one that's waterproof, so it can be installed right in the misting areas and not have any issues at all. So you can see the picture on the right. And then, as we mentioned, some of the larger size tags, those are just a small percentage of the tags that go into a store. This is a case where a retailer wanted they wanted the full 9.7-inch tag kind of sitting above some of their produce items. So they're just using the chalkboard font, and had a really nice look to it as you see that case there, as well as maybe using center store. You can kind of see that Coke Classic, again, kind of a manager special area in the store, or that item or the image on the right where they just have along that long glass window, they just put a bunch of 7.4-inch tags up above their produce items. So different ways to implement, a lot of different ways to present the tag as well. These are completely flexible. as you look at that middle item, if you maybe had a gondola with, in this case, maybe 6 items on it, you could use one tag that could represent all 6 items on your gondola, okay? And if you change the price of just the Tabasco chip on that example, the $4.19, only that part of that descriptor would change. All the other 5 items would stay the same. So a lot of flexibility, a lot of creativity that can be done with the tags. So that was the hardware kind of portion of the conversation. What I'll cover next is just a couple of slides on the technology of SES. And this is where, you know, we're proud of our heritage and, you know, the reason why Walmart made the decision that they did. Our solution is basically completely not on premise. This is a 100% cloud-based solution. We use the Microsoft Azure cloud, which is the #1 securest and safest, and I believe largest cloud in the world today. So we provide our services through that cloud. And again, the red box highlights some applications that are tied to ESLs, okay? When we start looking at some of these add-ons for maybe video rails or Captana for out-of-stock monitoring, those are just little subscriptions that STCR could turn on for you. You download it from the cloud and off you go. But for today's discussion, the vManager, the vStudio, and the vLink, those are applications. I've got a slide of each just coming up to show you what they are. But it's a low cost, no need for server hardware, software, like all that at the store, all that goes away. It is a completely cloud-based solution. And in some cases, we can actually reutilize some of the Wi-Fi networks that you have in the stores today. So we can cover off on that offline if any of you have any questions specific to your infrastructure there. But we work with Extreme, Cisco, Meraki, Mist, Lancome, you know, all the basics, and we're adding new ones every day. So that's pretty easy for us to do. But it's a cloud-based solution, and then we basically have the internet devices that sit in your store. Could be the smart labels, which we're focusing on today. Could be a video rail that's in the lower right-hand corner there, or that out-of-stock monitoring that we'll cover off in a future presentation. But very slick the way the solution works. So again, no on-premise software. This Fusion Manager, this basically looks at what you have in the store. Maybe you have a handful of access points, and in this case, there's over 500,000 tags on this image, but it could be as easily as a couple thousand tags or 15,000 tags. And we can drill down, and basically we manage the store of the tag. We know how many tags are online, the last time they received an image update or price update. You can drill down to the individual tag from a single location. You can look across the chain of stores. You can see the image that's actually on the tag. All that from a very clean and concise, what we call Fusion Manager. So pretty slick tool and dashboard. Typically, you just kind of use that during the setup phase, and then it just kind of sits in the background and really just, you know, kind of resolution management. It's more this application, what we call Fusion Link or vLink. This is the in-store application that maybe your managers, your stock employees, your price coordinators would use. And this could be as easily as downloading onto an iPhone or an Android phone, or utilizing such things as a Memmer data logic device or a Zebra type device that's in the store. But this is where you're matching the electronic label to the item, to your PLU item, and then you can kind of manage that quickly from the store. So a lot of other functionalities that come from this, but one thing I didn't mention before, when you look at tags, right? So in this case, that Apple there, we could actually have 4 different screens behind that, okay? And where that could come into play, the question that we had earlier, maybe at closing, after your store closes, maybe we automatically switch the tags to an ordering tag that shows all the ordering information around your wholesaler. Or maybe you maybe buy from multiple wholesalers, and you could have different tag information displayed at any one time. So very clean and flexible. And as an employee, let's say a stocker, I could be walking down an aisle and your shelf tag kind of during consumer hours is going to display everything you need to have, price, sale dates, anything like that. You could use the V-Link app and actually come up and change the screens themselves. A consumer cannot change the screens, right? It's the technology built into the Fusion app and then the technology that's within the tag. So you could actually go back and look, and maybe you were alerted that the stock's out. You could go up, flash the next tag and see, hey, okay, I ordered that from my warehouse last week. It should be here tomorrow. Okay. So again, a lot of two-way different kind of communications that the solution will provide. So that's the V-Link software. And then this is unique, and this is where STCR and their services come into play. The Studio, this is our, again, cloud-based solution. This is how you kind of develop your tag formats, okay? And STCR has done a great job of this. They can help you at the point where we do some testing within the store, get some label formats going. But they can use that software to basically do what this slide kind of shows you. There's unlimited ways to create a tag, right? So what we're showing here is a standard 2.6 tag where maybe you've got a regular everyday tag on that top row. And then when you want to call out a sale item or TPR, you kind of turn that tag into a promotion, okay? And you can see some creative ways that some of these consumers have done using the colors that are available and create kind of a regular tag and a sale tag. What I thought was unique, that lower right, the alcohol item there, I just thought that was a very great creative tag, because as a consumer, I can quickly come up to that tag. I can see the price, it's $37.99. I know it in this store, they use a hot buy to depict a sale item. I see the dates that it's on sale, and it tells me I saved $6 when I purchased that. So just a well-developed tag, and those are the services that STCR bring to the table here. And just a lot of different options and flexibility. That middle one there, that $9.97 tag, the price decline, I believe that is an image from Hy-Vee stores. But as a consumer, I could kind of scan down anywhere where I see that price decline. You can pick that up from all the other standard tags. You know that item's on price. Okay. So a lot we covered there, okay, in a relatively quick period of time. Hopefully we helped explain a little bit on who SES is. We've been in this industry. We've been creating digital shelf tags for 30 years. The opportunities in North America are tremendous. We have put multiple offices in. Our U.S. headquarters is in Chicago. We have offices in Dallas as well as in Montreal to cover those markets. And we just understand, there's just great potential here with customers like yourself that are out here. And now that you've listened to Ben and I, there's examples. Certainly we understand you have questions, and usually ROI comes into play. And Ben, this is just something I just was going to end my presentation with, that, there's tools that STCR and I, we put together where we can sit down with you as individual retailers, kind of go over some of your primary numbers, right? And this is taken from a real ROI that I did for an end user. I think they had 2 stores, and I plugged in their information, and we came to just under a 19-month ROI based on their investment. I think around 14,000 tags. Okay, so this is something that Ben and the STCR team and I can do, and would love to address that following today's presentation. So with that concludes what I had to cover. Ben, maybe we can open it up to hopefully some good questions.
Great, Chris. Thank you so much for going in depth on SES and the Fusion tags. I have been answering some questions in the chat as we've been going, but another question here, if you wouldn't mind. I know we're about at time here, so this will be the last question. And if there are other questions, please feel free to email me. My email address is on the screen here, bend@stcr.com. But the question was, if you could just explain, I guess, rapid fire, what kind of affects the battery life. You talked about the 7 years to 9 years. What are the different scenarios where that difference comes from.
Gotcha. Yeah, great question. So let me go back to, here we go. There we go. So yeah, so what we do is in our material, we take into account, I believe it was 2 price changes a day and 1 flash like every other day, just to pick an example, just a starting point. And that's how we get to our 7 to 9 year battery life. Okay. So if you think of it, you're not changing prices on every item every day, and not every item's on sale, and nor are you going to flash that every day, right? Now, if you just turned it on, let's say you had 3,000 items on sale and you just wanted to flash those tags continuously, yeah, you're going to drain the battery, you know, a little more than 7 years, right? Now, the good news is, even if you did that, it literally takes less than probably 30 seconds to replace batteries in a tag. Okay, so the capability is there. You're not, you know, you're not having to get rid of a device as some previous tag issues had. So, you know, there's some logic into, you know, when you're going to use the flash, but the tags, what's really unique about the technology as well, Ben, is that when these tags are installed, let's say you have 50,000 tags in the store, and the way they communicate, it's a high frequency, but it's a very low drain on, you know, how it's communicating to the access point. It's literally just doing a little ping like every 30 seconds. It's not always on, it's not always off. And it just, there's zero drain on that battery, other than when, okay, let's do a price change. We send out an ad batch for a couple thousand items. Boom, it takes a couple seconds. You load the new format, and then it goes back into that idle state. That's why we're getting the 7, 8, 9, 10 year battery life. We fully expect maybe even more if we're getting 13 in Europe. Okay. But yeah, great question. That comes up a lot. And that's why I really wanted to put, you know, that bullet on this slide that I'm resharing here with the team is, yeah, that is a valid concern. Now that Fusion Manager, right, that we talked about, so I can actually go in there, and there can be ways to go in and look at anticipated battery life, the health of the tag, health of your Wi-Fi system. There's a lot of unique tools that kind of go into place, and those are probably more from a STCR perspective, but there could be maybe some multi-store chains that maybe want to get into some of that information a little bit more. But hopefully that answers the question a little better.
Great. Yeah. No, I think that was perfect. I appreciate the additional information there, Chris. So,
Okay.
you know, thank you for answering those questions, and again for your presentation today. I think everyone got a lot of, you know, good insight and value out of those slides and the talking points.
Right.
Thank you to all of our attendees again for taking time out of your afternoon to attend and ask questions. At STCR, we are here to help. You can send other questions you may have to myself. Again, my email address is on the screen, bend@stcr.com. You can send them to sales@stcr.com, or for any of our current STCR customers on the call today, you could also email your sales account manager as well. You can find STCR also at the upcoming Unify Holiday Show, June 7th to 8th. We'll be hosting another lock SMS and self-checkout training on Thursday, June 29th. And we'll be hosting more sessions on ESLs similar to this one in the coming weeks. So keep an eye out for that. If you'd like any more details on any of those, please do let me know. We will be following up with all of you with a recording of today's call and to answer any final questions you may have about STCR and the electronic shelf labels. Thank you once again for your time, and please do enjoy the rest of your afternoons. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.